Hello, and welcome to this edition of Newsmakers, The Road to Success, here on My Fox 8 Plus, the Fox 8 YouTube channel, and the Newsmakers Road to Success podcast. I'm Neil McNeil. We're so glad to have you with us. You're about to watch the second part of my conversation with Greensboro attorney, the former chairman of the North Carolina State Board of Transportation, and current Transportation Board member, Mike Fox. In the first part of our conversation, which you can watch and or listen to on any of these platforms, he and I talked about his growing up in Boone, North Carolina, how he served as general counsel for one of the large former textile companies, Cone Mills, and the storm damage in western North Carolina, which is still probably the biggest challenge the State Department of Transportation's ever faced. In this episode, Fox and I talk about one of his other jobs, and it's a big one. You see, he's also president of the Economic Development Organization, the Piedmont Triad Partnership, and that's where we start this part of our conversation in Newsmakers, The Road to Success.
It started out as a regional economic development organization that had some governmental funding, had a very large board, 50 or 60 people, and the goal was to provide regional economic development. That model was okay then, but really around the early 2000s, a group of business leaders who were involved in it really saw the wreckage that was happening with the economy in the Triad, losing the textile jobs, the tobacco jobs, the furniture jobs, which are the key industries in Winston, Greensboro, and High Point, as well as losing headquarters.
Right.
And decided that there really needed to be a focus on getting jobs back, new jobs, not necessarily the old jobs. And that focus could be on advanced manufacturing. It could also be on headquarters. And so the group, Piedmont Triad Partnership, the organization sort of transitioned from a semi-public board to a private nonprofit funded entirely by the major businesses in the area. And an important part of that group is really the board members are the CEOs. This is a peer-to-peer.
Of the supporting business.
Of the supporting
so
businesses.
the municipalities are not funding the Piedmont Triad Partnership. So there's some of the major movers and shakers in the business community.
Absolutely, yeah. And the importance of that is one of the strategies that was adopted was that we really had to quit competing against each other. We had to quit being sore when in Greensboro when High Point got a new factory or a new business. Likewise with Winston, and we had to start working together.
And how difficult has that been and still is, if it is still difficult? Because as a young reporter coming here in the 1980s, covering High Point and Davidson County, I saw it firsthand.
Absolutely.
I'd go over to interview someone in Greensboro, and then someone in High Point would be upset that I didn't interview the counterpart in High Point.
Yeah.
How difficult has that transition been?
Well, we like to say it was an overnight success, a decade in the making. It took a lot of work.
Yes.
It took a lot of convincing, but it's been remarkably successful, and I think it would be fair to say that all the political leaders in the area, both the state representatives and the local elected officials, have bought into the fact that we're better together.
Right.
And our local economic development organizations have bought into that. They work together. If a person who's looking to find a site for a company calls up Mark Owens in Winston-Salem and says, "Hey, I was looking in your area. Do you have this kind of site available?" And Mark doesn't. Mark will say, "I don't, but call Brent Christensen over in Greensboro because I think he's got 2 or 3 sites." And you would have never seen that.
So the networking is just as important as anything, and that has been a valuable resource.
The collaboration. And my predecessor at PTP, Stan Kelly, he really led that transition. And one of the phrases he came up with was, "A win for one is a win for all."
Absolutely. And how did you get involved with the Piedmont Triad? I mean, you're a successful attorney in Greensboro. Yeah. Did someone come and ask you, "Hey, you need to sit on this board"?
Well, it's interesting. Through my work at the law firm, real estate development,
right,
obviously interested in growing the economy. And then one of my main passions at the Department of Transportation was supporting the economic development, because if you have a good job, it solves a lot of other problems in your life.
Yeah. True.
And it rises, the rising tide helps everyone. And so I had this fundamental connection to everybody in the economic development world, and I had a passion for the creating of good jobs and really bringing this industry back. And one of the things that you would often hear is it's a great place to raise a family, but your kids don't want to move back here. Well, we needed to change that.
Yeah.
We needed to make it a place where your kids could move back, get great jobs, and have a great lifestyle. And we think we're on that path.
All right. But again, how did you become a part of it?
Stan approached me, and he said, "Look, I think I'm probably going to step out of this role in a few years, and I'm looking for the next person, and let's just start talking." And Stan and I literally talked over a course of 2 years until the time was right for him, the time was right for me, and so I stepped into that role. Stan's still involved. He's our chairman of the board, but I'm the CEO and the president.
Okay, I have a graphic here. Of course, that's the Piedmont Triad Partnership logo, and a map, I think, of your areas of emphasis.
Yes,
Am I correct? And you've got a number of counties here, definitely the Piedmont Triad. Our coverage area in North Carolina, we have one or two counties up in Virginia, but this was the original regional concept that you were talking about.
Exactly, and there are actually more counties involved now.
Yes,
and
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. But that was the original Piedmont Triad Partnership, and you were talking about how the big emphasis was on regionalism, and then the Piedmont Triad Partnership decided it wanted to change its branding and strategy a little bit and make it become a little larger. Well, maybe not a little larger, but certainly more of a geographical area that you call the Carolina core. Am I correct?
Absolutely, and it really means a couple of different things. It is, the spine of the Carolina core is Highway 421, from Wilkesboro to Fayetteville, essentially.
Right.
And then
I've got a map here.
There we go. Yeah,
that's 421. They're in the middle.
But it's also the core of the state. There are two really great economic engines in North Carolina, that have been going on for a couple decades: the Charlotte area and then the Raleigh area.
Right.
And we really believed that we could be that third economic engine for North Carolina. And we feel like we've become that in the last few years, which I'm sure you're going to have a few questions about.
Absolutely. Now, just to talk a little bit about, everyone knows Highway 421. For old-timers here who live in the Triad, that was the way you drove down to the beach.
Correct.
You go through Spivey's Corner, maybe hit the hollering contest on your way to the beach. But 421 from Greensboro down to Dunn is about to become Interstate 685.
Right.
What is the time frame regarding that? And I'm tapping again back into your North Carolina Department of Transportation expertise here. What is the timing?
So the study for the exact corridor is underway now.
Right.
And we anticipate it'll be completed later maybe before the end of the year, certainly early next year. And that will determine the final route. I think almost everyone is advocating for it to go to Fayetteville and connect there somewhere to their loop.
Right.
Because of the first of all, the transportation emphasis on Fort Bragg.
Yes.
There, and how important it is for the military to have multiple sources of access to
no doubt about it. Yes.
But also for the economic reasons. And then it's probably the least expensive than creating a new interstate along the existing 421 route. Plus, the folks in the Dunn area, they already have 95.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily crazy about us bypassing and coming through. So it's good.
That's still to be determined.
Exactly, right.
But eventually, when all of this is complete, you'll be able to get on an interstate highway in the Fayetteville area, go through the Triad, up through Winston-Salem, and then it turns into I-777 on the other side of Winston?
Correct. We are in the process of seeking the congressional approval for designating US 421 from where it leaves Winston-Salem, essentially near the mall.
Right.
All the way to North Wilkesboro as I-777.
Okay.
Because it will cross 77 there near Yadkinville. And so you'll be able to have an interstate highway all the way from Wilkesboro to Fayetteville.
So would Wilkes County become a part of the Carolina Core?
They already are.
They already are. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just not on this map.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
All right, talk to me about the success of the Carolina Core. Since the Piedmont Triad launched this initiative, can you roll off some numbers in terms of the jobs that have been created in the time since the Carolina Core has been in existence?
Yeah, so in 2018, when they launched the Carolina Core brand, they had what they felt was a very aggressive goal of creating 50,000 new jobs in the region by the year 2035.
Aggressive.
At that time, it was thought to be aggressive. To date, we have created 72,000 new jobs since 2018. Well ahead of the 2035 deadline. We've subsequently set a new goal of 100,000 new jobs by 2035, and we feel like we can get there.
Now, a big part of that is essentially the clip I'm about to show here. This is Toyota Battery Manufacturing, North Carolina. Video shot this week at the facility at the Greensboro Randolph megasite. We learned just recently that 2,000 people are working out there now. The goal is eventually 5,100 by the year 2030, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But were you involved with the recruiting of Toyota? And can you talk a little bit about that and describe the significance of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will back up for a minute in terms of the creation of a megasite was really something that the Piedmont Triad Partnership really
Thank you
encouraged.
for bringing. Yes, absolutely.
And as it turned out, we have multiple megasites within the Carolina Core. The closest one to here being the airport.
Right.
And we can talk a little bit about that, but the Greensboro Randolph megasite was one. There's also one in Chatham County. Where Wolfspeed is.
Right.
But the Greensboro Randolph megasite is an amazing example of that regional cooperation that I was talking about earlier, because in order for that site to work, there was not sufficient water and sewer in Randolph County. And so the city of Greensboro, the Greensboro City Council voted, 8 or 10 years ago to essentially spend $25+ million to extend water and sewer down 421 to a site in another county.
Yeah.
And
Randolph, yeah.
Yeah, and that cooperation between Randolph County, Asheboro, Town of Liberty, City of Greensboro is an example of that regional cooperation, because the leaders of the City of Greensboro understood that if you landed a large employer at that site, it's going to benefit the whole area. They're going to come and shop in Greensboro. They're going to eat in Greensboro. Many of them will live in Greensboro.
Yeah. So were you involved with some of the initial visits that Toyota had here?
I was.
And describe, what were some of the big questions that they wanted to know coming into here? Site selection, certainly, of course.
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
big deal.
You have to have the right site, which means you have to have the right infrastructure, and being near an interstate, future 685, is an important thing. Also, the infrastructure, the water, the sewer, the electricity. But equally important is workforce.
Yeah.
That's probably the number one concern is, will I be able to fill those 5,000 jobs?
Right.
And we've done a good job here in the Carolina Core of workforce development. We have a very strong K through 12 educational system in our counties. We have amazing community colleges, and then we have a number of great universities. And they all work together on workforce development.
Which brings an interesting question, and that was what Toyota was asking. Is that pretty common when a company comes in? The number one or two questions that they have: site, workforce development, exactly. Anything else?
Other utilities,
Sure.
Making sure I have all the energy, I have all the water, sewer I need, et cetera. Yeah, those are the main questions.
One of the first big economic development announcements in terms of aerospace at the Piedmont Triad Airport was Boom Supersonic. Absolutely. And they have built their factory here with the goal of producing an aircraft that looks like this, capable of traveling at the speed of sound using sustainable fuel. You were involved, I'm sure, in Boom coming here as well. Can you tell me that story?
Yeah, so the actual kind of final sales pitch to the company was in my office.
No kidding. All right.
With Governor Cooper and the CEO of the company,
Blake Scholl.
The Secretary of Commerce, and Chris Chung with EDPNC. They met in a conference room in my office, and then
in Greensboro.
In Greensboro, yeah. And I was privileged to be able to sit in there, and I will just say our governors are great salesmen for our state. Governor Cooper and Governor Stein, I both worked very closely with in that regard, and they're good closers.
Right.
But they've got a good product to sell as well. And that meeting was immediately followed by a little community meeting where we had the mayors of Greensboro, High Point, and Winston in attendance, and representatives of all the other communities, really to show them that we're a team and that they can count on workforce and other support, infrastructure support from the entire region.
Right. And what's interesting, from what I understand, once Boom Supersonic decided to come here, that really opened the doors for other companies, including this one, Jet Zero, which was, and correct me if I'm wrong, the largest economic development win in North Carolina history. That's what we've been saying.
Absolutely, in terms of jobs.
In terms of announced jobs. Yeah. And this is a look at the aircraft that they want to bring to Greensboro. But do you agree that Boom was really important? It kind of put Greensboro on the map that led to Jet Zero.
Absolutely. You get a few headlines in the Wall Street Journal, people know who you are.
Right.
And, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, I talked about the forward-looking thinking of Doug Gallion in terms of the Greensboro Loop.
Right.
Our airport director, Kevin Baker, is really, he's a great airport director, but he's a great economic developer too.
Yeah.
And one of his visions was we can not only have a great passenger commercial air experience, but we can also be a job creator. And I remember meeting with Kevin back in 2010 when I first went on the board. And he had this big map out about where they could put all these companies. And Kevin's philosophy is it's kind of like if you build it, they'll come, but they want it ready, free, and a great workforce.
Yeah.
And so he worked very hard to acquire land around the airport, including the old golf course where Jet Zero will be. And one of the first interesting things we worked on together was at that time we were in the design planning for I-73, the interstate that runs from the airport up through Rockingham County. But we had an issue in that Kevin knew that you had to have a bridge to get aircraft across the interstate. And if there was a company that came and said, I'd like to come here, how long is it going to take you to build that bridge? And we said 5 years, they'd be next.
Right.
We're on. And so we worked together to figure out a way to go ahead and construct that bridge while we were building the interstate. And for about a decade, Kevin and I were like, yeah, they're going to come. It was a bridge to nowhere for a while, but we knew it would be a bridge to somewhere.
Right. Talk to me about the significance of Jet Zero, not only coming here, but announcing it's going to move its headquarters here. Because I've had people tell me, it's one thing for a company to decide to bring manufacturing.
Right.
the true level of commitment is bringing their headquarters here. Do you agree with that, and how significant that is?
Yeah, and I think it really speaks for the fact that, we've become an aviation cluster.
Yes.
A lot like Wichita,
yes,
and Seattle, and where we have a number of great companies. Honda has been here, for a couple of decades. Formerly HAECO, just acquired. Cessna's there at the airport. FedEx is there. Samaritan's Purse operates out of our airport.
Beautiful facility, yeah.
And so having a economy of scale of people who are trained aviation workers is a really good thing. And companies like to be where, there is that economy of scale in that workforce.
Couple of quick bullet points regarding economic development in this region. Economic incentives, a controversial thing.
Right.
Do you see economic incentives not going away anytime soon?
It's kind of like a zero-sum game in that as long as everyone else is doing it, you've got to do it. Yeah, I mean, we were getting killed by South Carolina, for years.
Everyone knows the BMW plant went to Greenville-Spartanburg.
Yeah, until our state government decided we got to be in this game, and I think we have a very responsible incentives program in North Carolina. It's all based on performance.
Yes.
In that you get X amount of money for however many jobs you create, and you get X amount of money for however much you're willing to invest. And if you meet those goals, you get the money. But if you don't get the money.
A lot of people are talking about housing, a major challenge, especially, you're bringing these thousands of jobs in, but where are all these people going to live? Is the Piedmont Triad Partnership, the Carolina Corps, pleased with the initiatives to get more housing in this area, and what more perhaps can be done?
Yeah, absolutely. We're incredibly supportive of all of our local communities, supporting new housing. Thankful for our partners in the housing industry that they're out there building houses. One of the most critical things to be done, though, is to work on regional infrastructure, to make sure the water and sewer is there.
Yes.
And unlike the road system, which is managed by the state, water and sewer is typically a local issue. And to be able to develop, like you mentioned earlier, the Randleman Lake. Well, the water authority in Randleman is really a regional water authority, and they work together. And so we're supporting efforts to create more of that, like you see down in the Sanford area. They've created tri-county water, essentially to tie a bunch of water systems together to support, not only manufacturing but also the homes, because you need sewer for density.
Absolutely, absolutely, and building roads, as we alluded to, is a lot more than just laying down pavement. You have to buy land, and even with the Randleman Lake, there were environmental issues with an old Seaboard chemical company that had dumped furniture dyes into the area, and a lot of that certainly had to be cleaned up. Mike, I want to do something that's a little unique, and I'm wondering for maybe the business executive who may be watching this interview on down the road, considering coming to the Piedmont Triad, what is your let me rephrase that, coming to the Carolina Corps, we'll spread it out just a little bit. What is your sell to that person right now? What do you want that person to know right now about why he or she should come here?
It's pretty simple, and I can give you an example from some of our existing executives. We really believe this is one of the most livable places in America, and certainly in North Carolina. And that is in terms of ease of getting around, the transportation. You're not sitting in traffic like you are in other places.
Right.
Affordability relative to other places. I mean, even though houses are expensive everywhere, they're less expensive here.
Right.
We have great restaurants, social activities. We have access to outdoor activities. We have a great system of trails and parks and such. It's a very good place to live. We have a great workforce, and you can have a great lifestyle here, and yet you can also have a great job with a world-class company. I'll give you an example. Scott Baxter, CEO of Contour.
Yes.
He told me one time that when he was recruiting a C-suite executive, he got down here, the new executive got down here, and with the first month, he came into Scott's office and he says, I got to tell you thank you. And Scott's like, well, why are you thanking me? He goes, in my previous job, I think he lived in Northern Virginia, he said, my commute was an hour and 15 minutes each way. He said, goodness. I am now 7 minutes from this office. You have given me 2 hours of my life back every day.
Yeah. What a great illustration.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You talked about all the good things.
Yeah.
What's this area's biggest need when it comes to economic development?
Right.
What do you want to see, the message to, I guess, elected leaders heading on down the road that you think it will be crucial for continued success?
We need to keep doing what we've been doing the last 10 years. We need to keep working together. We need to focus on expanding the infrastructure, and that's going to take money from the state to create these regional water and sewer systems. We've got our local municipalities working together pretty well on that right now, but we really do need additional funds to be able to expand the system so that we can continue to grow and serve the people that want to come here and work here. And we never need to lose sight of the fact that the workforce is really the important part.
And Mike, one final question, and it's a question I ask all of my guests in this format, and it's a personal one.
Yeah.
What do you see as the key to your success? What has that been to lead you to what you're doing today?
I think it's a combination. It all involves people. You heard me mention a lot of people in this interview.
Yes.
And all those people have been very instrumental in the person that I am today. And they've all mentored me, helped me, given me an opportunity. And one of the things I tell my children is always help anyone you have the chance to help. Without any expectation of anything. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. And I think that has led to my success in that I'm a people person. I like helping people. That thread goes throughout everything we've talked about, through economic development with PTP, through transportation, through practicing law. Helping people is what it gets me up every morning.
You mentioned that at the very top of our conversation. I think it's appropriate you mention it here at the very end. Mike Fox of the Piedmont Triad Partnership, thank you so much, and I wish you all the continued success.
Great, thank you, Neil.
I'll look forward to maybe doing this again one day. We can catch up.
And we're going to keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for joining us for this edition of Newsmakers, The Road to Success, here on My Fox 8 Plus, the Fox 8 YouTube channel, and the Newsmakers Road to Success podcast. I'm Neil McNeil, and we will see you next time.